here we are, and I hope this works because I fucked up with my camera. With Combat Commander again. I skipped Scenario 3, Bonfire of the NKVD. It doesn't look that exciting to me. There's some hidden fortifications which maybe might be interesting, but for the most part, it looked to me like very much like the last scenario, the hedgerows and hand grenades, except the terrains got better lines of sight and whatnot. I didn't really look too carefully at it. Maybe I should have played it. But it looked like a similar kind of attack with Germans in this case, attacking the Russians in a situation where, I don't know, it just felt like it would be similar to the last one. And then, you know, I have a guy who's watching these and enjoying them, I hope, enjoying my frustration with it, but who is a fan of the game. And, you know, he keeps urging me to play the scenario generator. That's learning a whole bunch, like a whole set of rules to create scenarios that maybe aren't as interesting as the ones that are pre-generated. I'll wave my hands about it and say, look, if you really love the game and you're tired of all the scenarios, it's a way to randomize scenarios, you know? But it's like, I'd rather play the ones that they've kind of figured out and tried to make good scenarios out of, and interesting points and whatnot. Sure, maybe there's stuff the scenario generator can create that isn't in any of the scenarios, but I doubt that. Anyway, I would rather set something up that I have here. So this is closed for a renovation, and this is a relatively big one. There's some interesting points. Germans had to set up first, but not this cannon, or whatever it is. IG-18 gun. Some sort of field howitzer or something. But anyway, the only important place for victory points is this, right at the beginning, and it's worth 10 points, 15 points, 15 points. But you have to hold the whole building for it to be worth that much. Now, oddly, the Germans start off with 20 points. I guess that's just a balance issue. There are no other objectives to start. They can be generated conceivably. And the wire here represents rubble, and I decided I'd put it all in front of the building. I decided to just drop myself into the building. This is a very naive way to look at things, but I'm like, let's make it as hard as possible for the US. Now, another option would be to try to defend, I think I have like a 9 hex, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I could be right on the wall on every other hex, I think. 1, 2, 3, 4. No, I think right across the board. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, across the board I could have deployed all my troops right on the wall, which might have been wiser. Or in these woods, the problem with the woods is they give some good cover, but not against certain fire, like the radio. It's not as big a gun as the last one. It's just a 75 millimeter with an 8 firepower. Not that impressive. But anyway, I'm like, I'd be essentially out in the open with most things. And like this, a mortar or radio artillery firing at woods adds 2 to its attack total. So essentially, I don't know if there's a reason for this to be otherwise, but essentially it cancels out the cover in those hexes. Other places, they say it differently. I think they just say that the cover doesn't count against certain things. I don't know. Certainly against walls and stuff, because you're lobbing over. So anyway, my computer died. Well, the graphics card died, and I don't have like the willpower to install an old graphics card and see if it works. And the integrated graphics on the motherboard is not working. They both go beep very, very faintly. So they're telling me, no, I don't want to do this. But yeah, it's a big deal for me. I put a video up about it. But an additional problem that I found out is that Windows 10 doesn't really like, at least some of the USB ports really don't like my Averio cameras, but the ones in the back do. I don't want to have the wire in the back, but anyway, it's what I have to do. I'm so unhappy with Windows 10. I hate so much about it. Like, trying to change things on it and everything is just a pain in the ass. Anyway, let's get back to the game. Although I'm not going to be able to finish it on this video, what I want to say. So the Germans had this gun and the weapons crew with it that they're allowed to put on the board after the U.S. sets up. Well, the U.S. set up in basically two, I'm going to call them squads, even though these things are officially squads, but two sections, whatever. And my intention was, because all the heavy weapons and the rubble is in the front, let's try to do flanking from both sides. I've got some really heavy weapons here. I've got some decent machine guns, but I got 50 cals, which reduce your movement rate. So I had to give them to elite units so that I could get any kind of movement on them. But here's the thing. What the Germans looked at was, I had a straight shot up this road, and that, can preclude the U.S. from flanking. So I dumped this here, even though my initial intention was to put it here with a nice line of fire up there. In terms of commanders, the Germans have a couple of lieutenants who are not very good. The U.S. starts out with a sergeant who is pretty good and a lieutenant who is surprisingly pretty decent. The NCOs being decent, yeah. But I don't know. And one of the reasons for this is both forces are elite, which is kind of interesting because the Germans have mainly elite rifle units, but the U.S. has regular line units in there, which means if I break them down somehow, I end up with an elite unit out of it. Maybe they're, uh-oh, got to swap. My understanding of things, and oh, fuck this dude. I had it charging. Anyway, the Germans actually have a lot of weapons too, a bunch of machine guns, 4 machine guns in the front, 2 heavies, 2 lights. The heavies, again, reduce your movement. But I'm taking the static defense of the location and just saying, okay. The problem with that is chances are I'm not going to get my 20 points out of that. If I defended forward, maybe I could stop things. There's another interesting thing in this one, which is it starts on turn 1 and ends on turn, well, the sudden death is on turn 7. And I see why that might be of value. And then there's reinforcements on turn 3. Why do you start on turn 1, not turn 0? Well, because the chance, as the time marker moves further and further, it means that the sudden death is more likely than if we had shifted down to 0 and 6. So it's putting, a tighter, I don't know, tourniquet around that sudden death. The U.S. is going to get to go first. Haven't dealt out the hands yet. We got the orders there already. Yeah, the hands are, the Allies only have 4. Axis has 3. So this actually has a lot of troops, but not a lot of activity available, which might mean I need to focus on moving one force instead of the other. I didn't really have an option to collect all my U.S. forces together because there are all these 4-man squads, which means that they end up, you can't stack them, and I can't break them down. Now, in addition, there's some reinforcements that are coming in. Another sergeant, a couple engineers carrying flamethrowers. I don't really know what flamethrowers do, but I have the feeling they set things on fire. In addition, they have a high firepower rating, but you got to get within 1 hex to fire them. So, and they can't combine fire and all that kind of stuff. So, also a quick look. I think all the American regulars, I don't know about the engineers, but all the American regular, yeah, the engineers do too, have boxed firepower, which gives them advantages in melee and maybe some other stuff. And all the Germans, even the elite rifles, do not. And the only thing that does is their light machine guns. The heavies don't. The heavies have a good range on them, but the firing channels, there aren't many, and I'll be probably trying to evade being fired at because there's reasonable range on these fuckers. And now this thing, because it uses ordnance, has maybe a harder time hitting than a machine gun here would have. But my plan had been to put everything in the building. And then I just looked at that road and said, yeah, you know, I really just want to be able to cover that. Had I thought more carefully with the German positioning, I probably would have put a machine gun guy here. That might have dissuaded the U.S. from being on that road, though, at all. And just, you know, shift things over. The command ratings for the U.S. leaders are high enough that they can command all their forces as long as they're in the exact right spot. They had to start against the, you know, against the edge of the board. All right. Not ready to start yet. Don't know what I'm going to do because my main computer's dead. And I'm like, and I fucking hate Windows 10 and kind of don't want to be online or anything. Get ready to start this closed for renovation. I realized something, you know, there's this orders limit that gets marked here and put it here. And I basically forget about it after that. I don't think I've ever used more than 2 orders in a turn. In terms of personal shit, I watched a bunch of, or I Googled a bunch of shit online. What some people would call research. Yeah. And I mean, it is kind of, but, you know, anyway, about my computer and what I'm seeing from it. Everything's starting up fine. The only thing that's not working is the video. To me, that means the motherboard's not completely fried or anything like that, right? I don't think the integrated graphics can go on its own, although it could become unseated or something along those lines. If my graphics card is dead, pulling it out, there's a chance that I turned off the integrated graphics to fully utilize, you know, everything that was in, and I call it graphics card. I mean, it's a GPU. It's a huge fucking thing. It takes up so much space in there. But there's also a chance that it's just not seated well, or something's bent or whatever. And there's just a lot of possibilities. It just feels like I overheated it and burned it out. And if it's still connected in there and I turned things off, there's a chance that just pulling it out will make the integrated work fine. If somebody brought up it could actually be like, I guess the HDI cables. It's a term I used to know HDI and like the existence of it and everything, but I haven't been fucking around inside my computer in a long, long time. It's been holding up pretty well. Anyway, let's get some playing, and because the problem is that I feel like I need to go out and get air tomorrow. In order to clean the inside of my computer. I had a little bit. I tried to do what I could, but I used to always have cans of air around because I would relatively regularly go to like Office Max or Target or Fry's. I went there reasonably, whenever there was any kind of issue, that was where I went. That was where I got my first camera, by the way, and my pipe knife. But it's like I'm never anywhere anymore, and there's not even anything kind of close to me. Like in Phoenix, it was like a 45-minute walk, but maybe less than that. Maybe, I don't know, call it 40 minutes to where the Target and the Office Max were, and I would go there in that area relatively regularly. Now I'm just so far out of the strip areas that there are. I mean, they're not that much further. They're probably about as far as my normal shopping in at least one case. But I just don't think, I don't go that way anymore because where I am, it's just not on my path. Okay, let's take a look at what the U.S. cards are. I'm keeping the German ones hidden until I come up with a plan with the U.S. Route's not going to do me anything. Advance, not exactly what I want to use. Fire, definitely not. Command confusion, that's not going to work. Another fire. And another command confusion. Well, looks like advance is the best I got. I don't want to be walking down the road here. I assume that wall blocks line of sight. Yeah. Okay. So it looks to me like I'm going to be advancing. We'll peek at the German cards and nothing else. I could just throw cards, but because I got nothing else. Oh, I could fire. Get rid of a fire card. That gets me more draws. Yeah. Let's take a look at what the Germans have, just in case. Concealment. Hidden wire. If I move. Not really my plan. Oh, double command confusion. How awesome. Card-based games that I have in the wargame-ish variety, right? Don't have, you're just screwed cards. I mean, this really is. You got nothing, man. You can't do anything with this card except discard it. It's just... So, like, I'm thinking... something like the Wild Blue Yonder Down in Flames stuff. I say that because that's the box I have, but I'm like, it's just Down in Flames, man. The Down in Flames stuff, every card is useful to someone at some point or another, right? And you're using a big shared deck and everything. It might not help you right now, but it's a defensive card you could use. It's got some potential use. Something like Naval War. Yeah, you might be pulling ammo that you can't possibly fire, but it's useful to someone, right? Even Age of Renaissance, which has unplayable misery burdens, cards you're not able to play. But they're unplayable because you can't play them. Someone else can. Anyway, let's play. Initially, I did the advance, but I initially had a little bit of a worry about this fire card because I'm like, I'm nowhere near the enemy. I'm more than halfway across the map from him. Yeah, but all the firing ranges are big enough in this game that I can find somebody who can shoot. Not for much effect, but range actually doesn't have a lot of effect. Rifles are... I'm not going to say that they're about as effective at that range. I mean, I'm trying to think about this. Like, yes, if you can aim and all that, but it requires a lot more aim the further out they are. But on the other hand, more careful aim and firing, if you're like just kind of panic firing or something, you're not going to hit anything anyway. I mean, it's not like the troops are massed together or anything. Fire was with some effect. It's mainly a line of sight game. There's some trees in the way, so I was only able to fire one here, and one guy, I think, slipped in a shot through there. Barely. These guys couldn't do it. That's definitely cutting. Here it looks like it's not. Anyway. And, you know, decent fire numbers, to be honest. I got up to an attack of 20. I put some thought into concealment, looked it up over here. Concealment may only be played just prior to the player making the defense roll. That's what's here. It sounds like it just adds to the cover, essentially, right? I don't think so, though. Here, determine the cover of the targeted hex and reduce the fire attack by that. If the firing is using spray fire, the cover of effect of either one of the targeted hexes can be used. Automatically, that tells me that we've got a situation where it would affect all the units in the hex, I think. Which is not what I took it as, because I assumed the concealment was one of the guys is hiding a little better than the rest. I don't think that's how it's intended. I think it's intended because otherwise the spray fire thing wouldn't make any sense at all. It is a little ambiguous, but the spray fire in the rules helps understand it. But again, the card does not. So once again, you're in a position where whatever card you got to read. Like you got to go look it up. The game is just filled with lookups. You could say, so is Ambush, and this looks kind of like Ambush. Yeah, except Ambush is a paragraph solitaire game, you know, where you're expected to be flipping around looking stuff up. I just don't feel like this is a game where I need to be flipping through a rule book constantly. And I really don't think that I'd be able to memorize everything. There's a few things that do happen enough. Situation for the Germans. I have a card that I can use. It's not a bad one. We just saw I can light somebody up from this distance. I happen to be in a position where I can probably get a couple of good machine gun shots off by playing that card. But I'm sitting on two cards that I can't use. The Hidden Wire, if I move. At least I got rid of my move card. I think given that I got rid of a card, I am going to shoot. But, you know, there's something in me that says, throw them all away. Could have used initiative. Yeah, but I'm not close. I'm not really in danger. Flip over the US cards. See what actions they have. I wasn't really paying attention to actions. Again, I make that segmentation. I look for orders. And when I have a big handful of cards, this assault fire. Could have used this to get some shots off with these guys when they moved. Maybe not. Nope. Advanced, I did not move. But I also had, no, this one just showed up. I had a sustained fire here, which my machine gun could have gotten a little bit more hits on it, but more importantly, I get rid of cards. For weaker leaders, unable to fire both of these. Fired this one off. Got a successful hit, but that's all I get. And did I fuck up? I did not. So a couple cards here. Boat goes there. I gotta swap pipes, I think. Maybe. It's like where before I would go downstairs and fuck around. There's such a disincentive to do so now. I'm just not comfortable on my wife's computer. Like, I don't know why. Well, one, I don't have my my game installed, which I would normally be playing, but I've had no problem like getting into accounts so far. So it's like, geez, why do I have to? Why didn't I switch? Yeah, I hate Windows 10. That's why. And I don't have my speakers attached to there. I'm cleaning my computer. I don't think you can see it down there. Got it over on my glass table. I used what little air I had left, went in with a brush into the fans and stuff to carefully extract some of the dust. But I actually have this sort of horrible optimism, right? I know I don't come across as an optimist, but I actually really am. Where I believe in highly unlikely things, if not impossible things. And in this case, I have this kind of feeling of, if I can just clean it, I'm going to just try it again. And I mean, there's no real harm in that. That might be all it is. Although, I don't know. I think that only possibly makes sense if the integrated graphics is turned off again. And if that's not turned off, there's a real problem. But I can't, because the motherboard's working so well, I can't see what else it could be. Yeah, I just don't remember doing that. All right, let's get to the US here. Well, what we found is that firing, the ranges that the map allows is still pretty damn effective. And therefore, a few little trees and stuff are actually important things, because they're what forces you to get close enough. The cards, and I have a shit ton of options. I have a route, I'd like to play that. I'm only allowed to play 4. It's actually going to come into hand in this turn. I have a route I could play, hope that this guy gets dislodged. Sure, that's... I have an advance. That's not terribly useful because it's only 1 hex. Move, though, opens me up to fire in a way advance doesn't. But I have a fire card, and I have sustaining fire, and, well, crossfire is not going to help. But I can get rid of a fair amount of these cards if I do the route, the fire, and say the move. If I have 2 sustained fire, I think I'm allowed to stack those if I want. Not sure I want to get rid of that advance. Those are kind of rare. A lot of firing, not a lot. I remember Air Judd, something like that over on BGG, always complained about the I don't have a fire card type of a situation in this game. I think he likes the game. It's just one of those things that really irked him, is that, yeah, my troops aren't firing. For me, it's kind of like, I don't really care. And the idea of troops not being willing to poke their heads up and give any kind of effective fire seems perfectly reasonable. So I got a whole bunch of stuff coming. Kind of know what I'm doing, which means it's time to look at the Germans as always. And this is not useful. Oh, this is useful. I can drop this on the enemy and stick him in place. Although I might want to hold it. And I don't have any fire capability. I gotta check the orders because some of the actions, the fire actions are hidden up there. Well, that kind of sucks. At the cards, if I'm going to play these 3, maybe this one, but I doubt it. I probably want to open up with fire, try to weaken them a little bit more, then route, get somebody to run, and then finally do the move, although the move is going to be on the side that I'm not softening up. That prevents me from dropping 2 sustained fires at the same time, and I probably want to do it just to make this guy's life more hellish. Probably don't want to play the route because I have an assault fire as the action for that, which means if I move I can fire as well, and that's huge. I really feel like that should be on advance only. I don't know. As far as I got, didn't generate a very good result. I got like a 13 on that, which basically, these guys had no chance of failing. I think the worst one needed a 1 to even be suppressed. You know, luck and whatever. I did generate a minefield though. Nice to know. It's weird that, you know, Germans didn't know that was there. Okay, whatever. They might not have been instructed, but the US now does know it's there. I guess maybe they saw a sign, because there is one that says the mines. I only used one of the 2 sustained fires. I can use the other one on the assault if I want to. But I gotta make my mind up now. I got 2 broken units. Chance of routing is not bad, but it's not great. They have fairly high morale. 9 is the lowest. Remember, it's 2 dice. I figure the distribution is the same as 2 dice. Otherwise, you wouldn't, well, there are other uses for the double dice. But I'm assuming the distribution is the same as you would see with 2 dice. Otherwise, the game's kind of lying to you. I feel like I gotta move because these guys are not advancing. Well, I definitely have to move, but I want to do the assault fire as my action on that. Now, that's any number of units which have, boxed firepower. That means I won't be able to use my machine guns. Fuck. I would have thrown this in too. It doesn't change the effect. I got a hit there. Just, I'm so uncomfortable with, you know, assessing all the importance of the cards. Now, if I was playing this opposed, I would not be doing that. But I know that me making the right decision would have thrown that in. And since it didn't help, that's perfectly fine. All these guys were activated to move, so they're all active for the assault fire when it gets dropped off. And I was unfortunately unable, as the Germans, to respond to this kind of rush forward. It would have been tricky had I had a fire card and the US was careful enough to keep their units kind of spread out. This guy is, we're not going to get any fire groups. Well, I guess I have one here. But this guy is unable to really do much, but I want him, you know, I'm trying to take advantage of the cover and all that kind of stuff. Except for the guy running up with the satchel charge, which I'm going to open up with first because that's an impressive little shot. It is boxed, and I can't combine it though. The satchel charge, it's a one-use weapon, and I just checked that because it actually has break and fix values. I'm not sure how you can break it. Generally that's through jammed results or something, but maybe there's something, you know, an event that allows you to just break a weapon or something like that. But it seems pretty unlikely. I guess you drop it, you know, and like have to make sure it's okay and safe to use. I wired him here. If I can cheat with him, I can cheat there. It's again a matter of just not being able to keep track of everything that's up there. I don't want him getting close with that satchel charge. I can see that he's got it. He's running there with it in his hand. I have a massive set of things coming through. So this guy caught by the wire. I decided to fire this initially because these guys, I think, I thought they got better after they're flipped over. This one does. But in terms of morale, which feels weird to me, but okay. They're already routed, so like making them, or broken, so making them die is a more extreme thing, and I can see why. But anyway, I launched that fire. First fire I'm doing, right? What happens? Well, basically nothing. I draw my own attack card, nothing happened from that. And then I got defense rolls with both of these. The first one ended up getting an event that suppressed this. The second one got me an event which brings a roll in on here. I draw the roll for that, I get a fucking time card. Like I said, it's just like this stack of things. And I've got to pay attention to all of them. Now I have to also look up, make sure that this indeed is something that counts. Now, since it said roll, I think it does. There are some things that aren't considered rolls and don't generate that. But I think this is a roll because it says roll. Whereas there are some things like, you know, moving fire and whatnot, drifting fire, that I'm not sure are supposed to, you know, that I don't feel, I don't know what the answer is on those. Are those rolls or not? But here it did say roll, but I still do have to check because I don't trust anything. But I'm pretty sure the things within events still can generate more triggers. I don't think they can generate events though, but I'm not sure about that. There's something that like one type of die roll doesn't, or one kind of reference to these doesn't generate because it's the same kind of thing or something like that. And I just can't remember all that shit. It isn't a big deal as I'm reshuffling to handle this time card. I think this card's not in the deck because I haven't resolved it yet. Not gonna look that up. That's not that important. Same lines, I think that the event that caused me to draw this also should be out, and I've already shuffled it in, so fuck it. I'm not even through the first unit of all of these that have firing opportunities, and I'm already fatigued. But let's look at my choices. So it's 44, so I can bring Captain Werling in. He's a good commander, and that is a really tempting option. Getting a 2-point commander on the board would be really, really helpful. Unfortunately, I threw the card in there. I may have to fish it out because I don't know where he goes. Another option is a Pioneer with a flamethrower. Pioneer's got good values. Flamethrower has incredibly good values. I looked up the flamethrower. It doesn't seem to set things on fire. It just takes all cover away, which is more useful for the attacker in this case. An elite rifle squad, definitely not as good as the Pioneers, so screw that. A conscript squad, well, that doesn't sound useful, and the radio is not available to me. I think I want the captain, but I have to dig up a card and I'll just discard it as well. But it means I have to search through my deck and find a card with the, I think it was called support or something like that, as the event. Through that. I bet it's in here. Okay, it's not called support. It wasn't reinforcements. Is it deploy? No. Fuck. Like now I don't even know what it was called. It don't look like there's anything there. I don't think it was reinforcements. If a unit is selected, he places along with its weapon into any hex along his friendly board edge. Yeah, I think it must have been reinforcements. Because there's nothing else in the events that it could possibly be. So I will hunt down that particular leader. Always a problem, basically, because they're all named or whatever, you know. But it's only a pile of like 15 units. Part of which was finding the pile that had the commanders in it. And so this one, I don't have them well organized. I have them, however, I got them basically. But there he is. He's going to be really useful if I can get him up into command, because he adds another 2 morale to everybody and 2 to all their ratings and all kind of great stuff. But after having conducted that one fire, I need to get me another pipe. I would like to rest, but I can't. I just realized, because I hear the rain coming down, it's probably going to rain tomorrow too. If I go to get, and I need to, if I go to get the air tomorrow, my thought had been, oh, I'll carry my backpack. That way, if I find other things that I want, I got a way to carry them. Well, my backpack is going to get wet inside. Okay, that's fine. Who cares? I don't want to carry the big one. That one wouldn't get wet, I think. I don't know. But it seems pretty waterproof. But then I started thinking, yeah, but if I'm just going to get a couple of airs, I can just, carry it home in the bag or whatever. I live in a stupid town. And I think the town next to me, which is where I'd actually be going, which used to not be this way, like a couple of years back, but I think did it. They don't allow plastic bags. You cannot get plastic bags here anymore, I think. I'm not sure. I know, again, a few years ago, I could get them at the next door town, but it's just the most ridiculous thing. First of all, from an ecological point of view, and I understand the complaints about, plastic litter falling all over the place and everything, especially with homeless people. But it's like, from an ecological point of view, me getting a plastic bag from the store is better than anything else, probably. Although, actually, I've worked my way around it where I'm using bread bags, which are plastic, as my trash bags now, because I don't generate a lot of trash. But I used to always just, use the regular store plastic bags. But then there's also this is a town where it's fucking raining half the year. Paper bags don't cut it when it's raining. So it's like somebody who'd just run out in the rain or whatever and walk to a store, maybe probably not as far as I walk, but, I would do this even if I had a car. I would walk rather than drive. But somebody who would make, that kind of choice now might drive because they can't carry their goodies home, safely, right? And sure, I have shopping bags and stuff like that are, I can carry a plastic bag with me too. I have ones I've saved, but it's just, it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous is what it fucking is. And what's really fucked up is there are exemptions. So takeout food can go in a plastic bag. And when I go to the supermarket, all the vegetables and stuff, there's infinite plastic bags you can grab for those. So it's like, what are they really doing? I don't know. Yes, there are places where the left has gone way overboard. Anyway, and I say that as someone who's pretty fucking liberal. and you can find it all over the place. But it's like, yeah, but what's the option? What's the alternative? You know. Let us continue with firing. Set a fire into this hex. Again, generated a couple of events. One of which was a unit became veteran. I thought that meant it went up and got a different counter. No, it just gets this pluses to all its stats. That's fine. If it changed counters, it would suck because I have elite units here. That sounds better than veteran to me. And then, strangely, this road just caught on fire. I generated a relatively puny firepower in here of only 16. That's probably not going to do much. Well, that caused an event, which is another reinforcement. So my die roll was a 5, putting me here. Can't get this. I could take a corporal. Yeah. I mean, I've got enough leaders for what I want, and an extra leader would be kind of a pain in the ass at this point because he couldn't move up with everybody else. Weapons team with a 50 caliber machine gun. That sounds great. Unfortunately, I'm out of 50 caliber machine guns. I have the only 2 that I think are in the game. So, not getting that, but I can still take the weapons team if I want, which is 2 guys, and they're kind of helpful because they could stack in with these things. They're rated 224 with a 7 morale. And then the only other thing I have is a green squad, which has a boxed firepower, is a little slower, has shitty morale, and also I can't put him in here, except that I could put him in here and break him down into an elite team. I don't know if I lose points for this. The elite team compared to the weapons team is better. So that's what I would like to do, but not if it costs me victory points. And I'm afraid it would. I'm afraid that, like, and worse, maybe some surrender points. It just says the unit's eliminated, so it would break down and I could eliminate the team. That would only be 1 victory point, but it would also be a space on here, and we don't want to have that happen. They'd be pushing and shoving, there'd be a little knife fight, so I brought the weapons team in. And now I go back and unwind and get to finish this fire, and that I think will be the end of the US turn other than their draw, and then I'll stop. But if anything happens, I'll come back. Very lucky. Move this back down. Really crappy roll. The unit with the machine gun was actually broken. All right, and then it's break time. Germans, I gotta recover. Probably want to do that. I gotta move. I can bring him up, and then I have a pass. Why don't I just play their turn? I'm gonna be moving without any. I want to do the move first, so that he can help those guys. So, but I'm gonna be out of sight of the enemy. So he has 6 movement points. 1, but now he goes up to 7, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is where I want him. Do I have anything? I have an assault fire. He could actually shoot, but I don't want to do that. I want to do the recover. And I had to check all the US cards just to make sure there wasn't anything I could do. Here come the German cards. The boat moves again. We recovered both units. The suppression's gone. I looked here and realized, oh shit, I got that guy. He could do something. Yeah, he could. If I had put my leader here, I could have moved this forward, but I could have set it up forward. I chose to put him here for a reason. It does cause some issues, though, because I don't have him in range, so I can't throw him in on any fire commands. And that's not good. But he wouldn't be in range if he was here either. And I really like being there. I don't know. I think I screwed up. I should have, as a team, he should have been over here or something. He would still command that road. Oops. All right. Time to swap batteries and take a break. I've kind of found the level of abstraction I want a video of this. All right, let's take a look at our US orders. I have a couple of routes, both of which give me some fire advantages. Interesting. I have a move, so the assault fire is useful. Spray fire is, of course, going to be useful as long as I have machine guns. Given that there's only one routed unit now, or one broken unit, maybe not that big a deal. Not useful to me. Totally worthless card. Just can't do anything with it, so it's going to eat my hand. This one might be useful if I get a chance. I got an artillery request, though. I think I have to do those from a leader. That would be a reason to have an additional leader on the board. Unfortunately, these guys are kind of scattered and not in a position to form a really, a significant fire group. But fire groups, they're not as powerful as I wanted them, or as I made them in Fat Lipke, because, several attacks can get you the same kind of result. So I don't know if that's a big deal. But you know what? I don't have a fire other than my assault fire. So that is interesting. Spray fire is box range. That's going to be the machine guns. Ooh, I have a rounded unit. Fuck. And a suppressed unit. And who knows what the Germans will do to me. I could move these and fire them. Instead, get them up into range. I just don't know. I just don't know. Probably want to open up with the artillery request. I think I can see the... Nope, I can't see the center from there. I could see it from back here. So he could do the artillery request. Oh no, there's like woods in the way. Yeah, there's definitely stuff in the way. I mean, I can drop it over here with him and then move these. I think that's what we're going to do. So we'll open up with the artillery and we'll look at the Germans, see if they have anything interesting. Crossfire, that could be helpful. If I have no fire though. Sustained fire, assault fire, I have basically nothing. But we already decided what the US is doing. If I knew what the German cards were, I might be going right in, and setting up good melees or something, but not going to do that. Three hexes away, but this multiplier thing is so random, you know. So I ended up getting big stray on that. Let's see how big. 5 is direction. It's going to go this way, and it goes 3 hexes. 1, 2, 3. It does nothing. I swept forward with all of these. This guy's getting left kind of out of command, but I want him to have some cover. Don't want to be on the road. I tried to tempt Germans. They didn't fire. I eventually used the road a little bit. That's my move, but now I get to do the assault fire. And that means all of these with their boxed can fire, but the only fire group I have is here. This can't. So I don't know how much I expect to get out of it. Kind of weird. I got a shitty fire effect from this guy as my first fire. It's kind of hard to remember all the units if you plink around and do the different things. No effect from the fire itself, but even though these guys in here couldn't possibly be hurt by the fire, they still have to draw their cards. One of them generated an event which suppressed that machine gun there and the crew on it, which is pretty cool. And now I guess I just continue on because I don't have too many options. All that fire managed to break 1 unit of elite rifle. I can play my route. That's about it. Oh, in addition to that suppression here, and we had other events like a sniper coming off, this gun got broken for no good reason. It's not firing or anything, but it got hit by an event. But the blaze moved into here, which makes this even more iffy. And the route managed to suppress these guys. I'm tired already. Doubt the Germans are doing much. Can't. I got a route. Might just scare this guy off the board, probably worth playing. Even though there's an assault fire on it, I'm probably not going to be moving. This isn't a horrible card. I mean, the other option, I could move this gun forward, which assault fire, that's not boxed, so that's not going to work. I don't have any fire. I think I'm going to route that unit and see if I can get it off the board. The other option is to throw my cards. And I have no fire cards, so that might actually be better. Yeah, I think I'm going to dump my cards. Much as I would love to route that unit, it's not going to win me the game. And that'll put us over here. And I'm going to break. Hey, it's already starting to get light. I woke up at like 6 or so, which is not that shocking. But I woke up after a good amount of sleep. Not straight, I had to get up and pee, but I didn't stay up this time, which has been causing me to get, little bunches of 2 or 3 hours of sleep, and then I'm awake for a few hours, and it just runs havoc. I don't know what the weather is going to be like because I don't have a little weather app on my wife's computer. And there's another problem with it that I can solve, I'm sure. I have it set so it doesn't go to sleep because it was doing that while I was playing Crusader Kings, which was really horrible. But honestly, it takes a long time to wake up from sleep. doesn't have the problem my old computer had with sleep, which made it so that I couldn't go that way. And it takes not a hell of a lot longer to start up. Like the Windows 10 is like really good at startup and not really all that good at waking up. It goes through all the, I have to go through the starting screen and all that, which I don't have to do. Well, I don't have to go through a starting screen on mine, but my wife's, she had put her username in, and once you do that, you have to go through the startup screen, even without a password or anything. I'm actually very surprised they didn't seize her main computer. They just took her laptop, and they didn't manage to figure anything out there. But it also probably wasn't important to their investigation. But why did they seize all that stuff? And then, yeah. Without my little weather app on her computer, I have no idea what's going on in the day. And yes, I will check the weather directly, but I'm so used to just being able to look at that and know everything about the day. So another thing I have to kind of install, and I kind of have to, because I will be switching to this computer for a lot of stuff anyway. Anyway, here I am playing this game and should get to it. But I do have hopes of actually making it out. And there's another thing I need, and this is really cool because I was kind of like delaying getting this. I need to get more lighter fluid. And one way or another, I can work that into my trip, depending on which direction I go and everything. I can think of, like, one of the places I might get the air has lighter fluid. Most places don't fucking carry cigarette lighter fluid. Hit me hard all at once. So before I go to the US turn, I have to use the crapper. But one really interesting thing. Like, I'm used to having to run downstairs and do that, but now I'm up on this bathroom. It's actually easier to go to the bathroom and, take my bath and everything. I have my book up here and my coffee. There's a lighter set up in there and everything. It's actually easier for me to go from gaming to the bathroom here than before. So I turned off the lights. That's fine. But I'm like, wow, in a way there are advantages. I really should have it set up so that I could use either bathroom, but it's like, yeah, I mean, I need to take the bath and everything afterwards, so. Absolutely hate it about work. School, usually I wasn't stuck there for, the same kind of length of time. Was, if I had to go, I pretty much couldn't. And then when I really had to go and had no option, like this was such a case, I blame the corn. No, it is my second pot of coffee. I had one last night, basically, I'm having one early in the morning, so actually more coffee than I usually do drink, used to drink. I usually, because I don't make a full pot anymore, I only make 6 cups at a time, but before I used to make a full pot. But, well, I think I made a 10-cup pot. Not sure. But anyway, I used to make a full pot of coffee, but my wife would drink some of it too. But now 2 of these smaller things. But anyway, yeah, I would then be stuck not being able to bathe immediately afterwards, which is a horrible thing for me. I get itchy. Let's just put it that way. All right, let's look at the U.S. And I know some of you are like, too much information. Yeah, look, it's always too much information, right? You're here to hear me play a game, not talk about my personal woes, but they're always going to be there. And does it really make a difference whether it's my need to get food for shopping, or my lonely little friend who got left behind. Anyway, there's a poem in there. I just haven't done it. What do I got? I got to move without any assault fire. I'm not really sure I want to do that. Has a concealment, so it's useful elsewhere. I have artillery requests. I don't have any fire. I have a route. That might work on these guys, but they're pretty solid, covered by a couple of leaders. I could drop the 2 artillery requests and then the route. That seems like the best option. I don't know. Really big deal that I've come into a mechanism that works for me, which is I look at one player, then I go over to the other. After I make my decisions about what I'm planning on doing, which could change, I look at these guys and see what they're going to do. And I don't see much in terms of action. This concealment is the only thing, unless I have a fire. Which should help. Spot on 3, then 6. Ends up exactly where I want it. I don't have any units there. Excellent. Let's see what happens. Attack like this, I did my first shot at this, and basically nothing happened. There were a couple of... There was a sniper, maybe something else, I don't know. But I'm hitting 7 different hexes. Now, only 4 of them count, but I've got to, like, as with movement orders and stuff like that, I've got to kind of try to remember what I've moved, what I haven't, where I've been, where I haven't. I almost feel like there's a set of counters that is needed here. Now, I don't know. What are these fuckers? I don't even know what these are. I don't know what these are for. Again, maybe the scenario generator. I got no idea. I could use something like that to mark the hexes that I've already hit. I feel confident, but you know, the stacks can get pretty big in terms of the amount of cards that you draw and everything. On my cards. That little 8-point artillery fire, that's not doing anything against things in buildings with leadership and whatnot. I'm just knocking the rubble around. But speaking of the rubble around, I got to get these hexes too, just on the chance that they get the right draw to hit one of these. Now that's a 12. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm wrong. Yeah, I need to draw snake eyes, but it means 3 more draws, 3 more random events. But here I got a crappy roll, wildly inaccurate. Whoa! Oh, that's going to be ugly. That's coming back my way. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Got a shot at him. What do the woods do with this? So the attack total is increased. Yeah, I don't get why that doesn't just knock out the cover. I really don't. And that, I should have done this first. The time actually has to be triggered first. A little suspicious about this because I'm not sure that's a die roll. It's not. Which I find under the artillery thing, but not under the triggers. The triggers does tell you some places where the trigger doesn't take effect, but it took me a couple of minutes, again, of lookup to find out that no, I don't trigger the time thing on that. And only because I had a vague suspicion that I remembered, wait, the artillery thing isn't really a roll. Melee rolls aren't rolls at certain times, apparently, due to an infiltration event. That's called out somewhere. let's see, we got a couple of weird things here. Any non-time trigger that happens on the last card of the draw pile is resolved after the time marker advancement. Okay. Whatever. Any roll made while resolving, so they're not stacked, that's a little weird. Any roll made while resolving a trigger, such as a sudden death roll during a time trigger or a melee roll during a melee at the end of an infiltration event, cannot itself produce a trigger. That's a such as. What? I'm not even sure what I understand what's being said there. While resolving a trigger. Okay, so that means that triggers can't stack. They usually don't generate a die roll, so okay. I don't think I violated that much, at least. Anyway, I guess I got to resolve this. It's a big 8. It actually has a +2, technically, going into there, but that +2 then gets canceled out. So technically this is an 18. And then this is an 8, 9, 10, 18, so I'm suppressed. I had 2 from my leader. I'm nothing. Yeah, leaders are too potent. Right. I could issue move orders to individual units if I have any individual units I want to move. That might not be a bad idea, although it gets rid of this nice concealment card. It also opens me up to fire, which is okay because the Germans could unleash fire on me anyway, so why not? I think we'll try to place ourselves over here. This is vaguely important because even though it's not worth any victory points in the scenario, it could become worth victory points for some reason. Plus, it gives me nice cover in a position that doesn't look too bad. I don't want to be out here. That'll be like being here. I'll be out of range of command. I won't be able to fire. Right now I've got this entire group under command and in cover. Fuck that. And is there anywhere else I'd want to move? Where's my leader? My leader's over here. That means this guy is out of command. He could creep forward. He's actually probably in cover too. All right, we'll do that. Route, and you know what? What I could use something like this for, and again, I don't know what they're for, but again, they might be the scenario generator type thing. What I don't have is something that keeps track of how many commands I've played. Now I know how many cards I had maybe at the beginning. At this point I had a full hand, so it's easy, but it's not always. And I know I've played, this is at most my 4th card, and I think it is my 4th card. 2 artillery calls, a move, and a route. And similarly, you don't have, you know, when you're in the midst of a move or whatever, you don't have something that marks who's been activated or anything like that. It does get kind of complex. You might want to start using counters or something like that. It doesn't look like too big a game. It feels like you could keep your head wrapped around it, but sometimes it does get awfully tangled, and I'm like, accidentally moving or using a unit, usually due to not remembering the rules more than anything else, but not remembering the rules and then not having, because I didn't remember the rules, not having remembered the state that I needed to remember, even if I recall the rule, and then I'm like, how do I get back to this? The US turn, drew my cards, ship moves. I'm fatigued. Like, again, just doing one action, one player's turn is really fatiguing in this compared to how tiny it all looks and everything. I feel like I should be able to fly through turns the way I am with the DG mini games or something like that. I'm trying to think what else I would do that with. You know, something like Ancient Battles Deluxe or something that has a small map and not a lot of pieces on it, whatever. It wears me out because of the stacks, the amount of different cascading effects and everything. But let's look at this. We definitely want to go. We have a recover. Don't think I want to move unless I want to get this gun. I could sneak this gun up here. That might be a good idea. I'm really getting upset that he's not in range, and I haven't been drawing many fires. It's going to get a lot worse when I draw a fire. The rally, both of my units rallied, but a lot of other stuff happened. The only really notable thing was some air support hit here and broke that unit automatically. Did my rallies, did my routes on these two afterwards. And now it's time for my move. I make a choice. Concealment or crossfire. I'm going to play the this one. And I'm going to move into here first. That's my first movement point. Oh, I only get one movement point. Jesus. All right. I'm going to move in. Almost not worth moving. I'm going to do it anyway. I move my first movement point, and only, and that puts me, yeah, that thing's heavy. That puts me in a position where he could fire. Now, he has a fire order. I'm not sure I want to fire at this, but getting rid of that would be useful. I cut this, and likewise this one's going to cut, I think. I don't know, because, well, I'm going to cut the wall at least. And I think the wall blocks, yeah. So I'm not, because the wall is actually this weird zigzag thing, not a straight thing that I'm up against. Feels funny, feels wrong. But anyway, there's some woods there and everything, whatever. So I think I don't have a shot, actually, because I am out of line of sight. There's no way this is gonna not cut that, is there? No. Yeah. All right. And that means 3 German cards, a battery replacement, a boat movement, and I'm done for a while. Like, that US turn just really blew me away. The German turn, not so much, even though I threw 3 cards in. All orders, all 3 of my orders, but I only have 4 cards, so that's, you know, it's pretty easy not to throw your 4th card, I guess, I don't know. Actually, using this camera, and I screwed up the thing that I was, you know, able to get done last week. But I knew it was going to screw up for various reasons. The guy sent me the wrong numbered page, right material, wrong page. And I'm going to have to go through the whole fucking thing again. It'll be easier now because I did it recently. But one thing I'm worried about, although I'm up here playing more, it's such a pain to deal with loading the videos, and I haven't pulled the file joiner down or whatnot. I'm hoping my computer will be fixed before I get this one, but that's unlikely. Okay, let's look at the US. I have a couple of recovers. I can only play one of them because it's got to be played on me, and so I'm the one who's activated. I have a fire. Definitely don't want to give that up. I have a route. Might work. Otherwise, it doesn't look like I have much. So my actions are going to be the fire and artillery. In which order? Interesting question. This guy, neither one has a great view. They can, oh no, this guy can't see this. So I'll probably drop the artillery here and fire with his fire group. Although this fire group, this guy's not in good shape. So I need to recover first. Okay. Which recovery do I want? I want this because I'm probably going to use the spray fire on the fire card. And I may use the route. That's my 4 orders. But now I throw the order that I'm using kind of over here, so I can't use up that space. Which one first, artillery or fire? I think artillery first, because I want to do the recover before I do the fire. But if the artillery hits funny, the recover will help me there. That's a denied. Fuck that. I can't use that. Well, that blows. So now I have a lot less stuff. I think I still want to take the actions. I'm not sure how that fits in with the deck coming down and with reinforcements and all that. But I think I want to take the actions that I'm offered. What I do to track my actions is put them over kind of on their side or something, or sort of my orders. Nomenclature. But again, I haven't felt like that's been a big burden. Spray fire I can use with this, although the recover could be useful because one of the units got himself suppressed on the recovery thing, and but that leads me to the question of which fire group do I want to unleash. This is the stronger fire group, but one of the units is suppressed, and it's the one with the heavy machine gun, which is broken. How do I fix those? I don't know. I get the feeling it just kind of happens, but I guess I gotta look that up because maybe the recovery had a chance to fix that. Whereas I have the big 50 caliber over here and feel like I can get a better fire concentration on that unit. This is why I never fix them. When a weapon breaks, it's flipped over to it's broken. Whenever a player checks for a random hex, either via sniper or due to certain events, the hex number is compared to that on every broken weapon in play. Is there a hex number on the weapons? There is not. So I guess the hex that the weapon is in, the way it's worded led me to believe. This happens before the result of the event sniper itself is implemented. If the number what number? The hex number? That's what I'm comparing to that on every broken weapon. I don't think this is what they mean. But I just had a sniper happen here. So we're going to do it. I'm going to run back. Here's the sniper. So the hex number is B6. See that? Oh no, that wasn't the hex that I checked. Sorry. Wait. No, it's the hex number that I just checked. So B6 is compared. Okay, well that did not hit. But that's the only way they get fixed. I'm going to try to remember that, but you can see where with the piles of rules and all the lookups and everything, holding on to that little piece of information is pretty rough. Tough thing. This thing has a big -3 on its movement. You flip it over, it doesn't have that anymore. Clearly, if I'm pulling that gun around broken or not, I should be affected by that. Becomes harder to check. It's hard to check anyway because the weapons look like this. They don't, clearly stand out the way, this stands out with its big red -3. I don't know that I'm carrying a weapon big enough that I have to pay attention to it. Yeah, the name of the weapon is on the back, but mainly it just looks like a piece of broken equipment that I'm hauling around. And most of them aren't going to cost me movement points. That's something I'm not going to look up. I'm assuming they still have that effect. But, yeah. And where am I now? I'm on the fire that I decided to do, and I don't know. I don't know what triggered that. I'm lost again, right? So that was off the artillery request. Then I did the recovery, and I haven't started the fire yet. But you can see where like enough shit's going on your turn that you just have, it's very easy to get lost. And it feels like this little simple game where things are just kind of automatically happening and everything, but it's really not. It throws a lot more of what I call that mental mechanics type part, where you got to keep a lot of shit in your head as to where you are in your turn, what's done something, and then the rules, supposedly good, maybe the best they can be for this kind of game, but the kind of game just throws so much burden on the player that, yeah, I think that's my biggest gripe about it. Anyway, let me do the fire. I've forgotten to pay attention to this too. So I have a concealment that might take place. The dig-in could take place if I draw time. The first shot is resolved. I get an event. It's a hero. He rallies that unit and just shows up. This is Lucas. It's always Lucas. Only people named Lucas are ever heroes. I don't care. You're only allowed one hero per game, and you know, they got to give him a name or something. And it's cool because I can lose him and it doesn't count, and if I lose him, I can get him again. But I've got my fire value into this hex. I think I fired this one. Just that one I'm not combining yet. Squads have crappy range. So do officers, but I forget about that all the time. I mean, they just got their pistol, I guess. But the weapon squad doesn't have much either, apparently. Probably just pistols, but there's two of them, so they get, I don't know, better range. One guy stands behind the other to help. No, I don't know. I don't know what they're armed with that, like, maybe they're just not very skilled with their weapon. I got to use the spray fire. I intended to use it to get rid of the card. I'm just not going to cost myself in that. That's going to trigger me into a time event because I need more cards. So now we jump into that. Now, I think the time, not event, trigger, whatever. I think the time thing means that I can't generate any more triggers off of it. Right? Again, where's the... See, I don't know if this is a time trigger, though. See, here it specifies any non-time trigger that occurs via the last card of the draw pile is resolved after any roll while resolving a trigger. Yeah, I guess those two importance cover it. But again, they're just kind of floating around. If you don't remember that they exist, you might not know, you won't know to look at them. if in no way you know how that they're there. You know, normal people, like we're going back to my life shit, normal people could handle the shit that I can't cope with. You know, the computer thing, yeah, okay. I actually feel like I'm in good shape there. It was just my stress levels, which led me to not being able to cope. Now I have a plan. I know what I'm doing. It may or may not work. It'll suck if it doesn't, but whatever. And then I think, you know, I have the plan fully fledged out to the point where maybe I buy a cheap GPU or something for it just to get it running, so that I can transfer any information or whatever from it and use it for watching videos, because I don't really like watching them on the Windows 10. Mainly because the speakers up in the... I've got kind of broken speakers that I got out of the trash for that computer. I've got onboard speakers in the monitor, and I just don't like those. They're too high up. They just don't sound right to me. I don't know. Like, if I try to analyze them, they sound fine, you know, if I think about it. But, like, they're in the wrong place and just really disturb me where they are. Where the hell am I? Yeah, so like this thing with the inheritance stuff, a normal person would just get on the fucking phone, talk to this guy, work his way through it, whatever, would have done that before. But I'm not in a position where I don't have my phone, and I no longer have my Skype phone. Although now I could get Teams if I'm working on this other computer. But I don't even know if my headphones will work with it and all kind of stuff, because everything seems to be incompatible with this fucking Windows 10 stuff. Yeah, it's old technology. It's out of date, right? But all my stuff works better with the old Windows 7. I just really hate changing computers. I really ought to just, I don't know. I could probably convert a laptop to Linux or something. I don't know. But yeah, I feel like things that are trivial to other people, calling a plumber, and arranging something. But even if I had the phone, it would be just as fucking hard for me to do. Like, this just adds another step. Do I need to get a phone? Do I need to do this other thing? And it's like another step that like would take me months to decide on. And because I don't have someone else reliant on me, it's like really, really hard. And I just want to curl up and whimper when I think about it. Anyway. Wow, I used up that battery on nothing. I don't know where I am. Yeah, I'm on the time trigger. To decide, the Germans had no need for the concealment, but did they want to get rid of the card? I think the answer is no, because I'm going to do fire, and moving this guy another hex is actually kind of cool. I don't have enough movement points to move into the building, though. So I'll need to get an advance or whatever to get up there. We go hunt down the whole time sequence and follow that thing through. I think the thing is, things that are written down procedurally, because I have to follow them all the way, they just don't link into my head. Like, I've kind of learned not to try to memorize those things because I fuck up when I do. And yeah. We made it to turn record 3. I checked these cards for any dig-ins. That's all I looked for on them. I didn't see any. There was one on the German side. So I have foxholes here. Not where I really want them. I would have loved to have them here. That would allow me to be back a little bit, get a nice line of fire, and still be in command of both the leaders, the 1 and the 2 that are there. These units are coming in, these flamethrowers, and a leader back here who can help activate that, I guess. That guy's not my problem. It's this guy is my problem. He's the guy who's out of command, but that's okay. He's doing something, I guess. And that moves the ship over here. We do have to do something about my battery. I'm going to look very, very briefly. You know what? I got fire actions and a move. I'm going to be using all those cards, so I'm going to hold off and try to psych myself out to going out. You know, I wish this email didn't get to me today, because it's kind of broken my spirit again. You know, it's like every fucking time that I get myself psyched to do something, something else goes wrong, something gets fucked up, and I'm like, just like with the game, there being stacks of things that I have to cope with. Yeah, this I have to place in that ordering as to how important it is. And it's not as important as getting my computer fixed. It's more important than getting my tub fixed. You know, it's like... And then again today I noticed, you know, my sick tree, and I'm like, oh, fuck. You know, that's something I have to deal with, but I haven't even put my mind around what I need to do, which is really, that tree's dead. but I need to get some of the little metal things that you stick into trees to make sure, like, to try to protect all my other trees. I have no idea how to go about that. But, you know, I have no idea about a lot of things and have to figure it out. Right. Germans have a pretty good hand here. Now, this is a little weird. These guys are, you know, as far as I'm concerned, they're under orders to make it to this building, right? But they don't keep moving. They stop. Okay, I can kind of see that. But it's going to be particularly hard for them to actually get into the building. I don't know why. You know, I guess dragging that big old gun. But yeah, it's a different, like, in some ways the game kind of doesn't make sense to me. I feel like once you're under orders, you should be able to continue those orders. You shouldn't be stopping continuously, especially in stupid locations. Although, again, you know, there's suppressing fire and all that going on. There's a lot of stuff that maybe isn't represented in the game that's keeping them from advancing, so they're just kind of moving really slow. Maybe the gun is hard to move, I don't know. Yeah, I mean, it obviously is. But anyway, looking at the Germans, I've got a pretty good hand. I got 2 fire orders. I'm gonna issue one to my main leader, and he's just gonna have everybody shoot. And that lets me save one if I want. Smoke grenades I can't use. And then I'll move on that gun. Now that I've decided, I go over and I look at the US and see if they have anything. If I have a fire order, I could get an advantage with the crossfire. Might be worth it. Try to, somebody's got to be able to see that gun when it moves, I think. But not this guy. But this guy can't either, I'm guessing. Oh, actually, he will be able to if I move into here, and that's where I want to move. I consider the turn as it's going to happen. You wouldn't do this in normal play, but knowing what the Germans are going to do, I react. The only time I'm going to get a chance to do the fire is going to be when he moves into here. And then I might as well spray fire so I can hit both of these. Fire attack does not differentiate between order and action. Do I look it up? Yeah, all right. Again, you know, crossfire definitely can only happen when I'm using the action fire. And spray fire. Well, these are alphabetical, so it's got to be pretty far. I'm already at 30 on C. Oh, no. 30 is just the number of the roll. That's why. Okay. Fire attack roll. So, yeah. Let me take a look. Okay, I do 1 fire attack roll. Didn't think that was the case, but it apparently is. Look at op fire. I think multiple units can engage in this. As if he were activating units for a fire order, which means, oh wait, and or. Okay, that one's not in play, which means I could use this leader, activate him, and fire both units as a fire group. If, and I don't think this is the case, if I can see, obviously it's not the case. Well, I'm not sure because that building doesn't cover the whole hex. It doesn't, but this wall, I won't be able to line that without crossing the wall again. Because remember, it's a zigzag wall for some reason. German fire did not do a hell of a lot. I broke a machine gun. I got an event that suppressed him. He may have gotten hit. But I did hit this guy, which gives me some advantage when I move, I guess. I don't know if I would have aimed for him if I didn't know what the US was doing, but kind of knowing the situation with the move and the line of sight and everything already figured, I'm like, yeah, knowing all those things, yes, I would, but I don't think I would have thought about those things necessarily. I might have just shot the closest guy because he's kind of a threat, but. And not much happened due to the fire. We did get another time event, pushing this forward. Another victory point there. Shuffled the deck. It was almost out anyway, so it was going to happen soon. That moves my ship. US is low on cards. Cover is useful. Route is not. Don't know if I'm allowed to play it. Artillery denied is not. Question is, do I want to drop the recover effect? And I think the answer is yes. And I have to look up, I have to figure out, do I want to play the route before I decide if I'm going to look up, well, in order to decide whether or not I want to look up. I'm kind of running out of time, so, I mean, it might make sense to discard cards, but it's always this kind of mixed choice. Do I want to just throw that route card out? That'll give me more things to do, and honestly, with him not hurt, I think I do. So now I look up order route and see if I'm... So there's a rule that, like with movement and fire and stuff like that, you can't play the order unless you're capable of accomplishing it. And I think that's going to apply to the route card as well. Not really sure where to find that. Must be formed. I'm not finding that restriction. Found it, but once an order is given, it's where I looked, at least one of the units activated for that order must physically carry it out. The way that's worded, the order I give en route is against the opponent. So I don't think that I'm precluded from playing that on him, even if he has no units that are affected by it. I'm not ordering a unit. So, given that the rules say follow them precisely, that's how I'm looking at it. Like both of these, a lot happened. I got events left and right. There we go, that's the first event. So I got an Elan, my surrender was increased, and then I got an airstrike that allowed me to hit this, and now I get a whole new handful of cards, and I'm allowed to take as many cards as I need to. I'm just not allowed to discard more than 5, and I'm not allowed to issue more than 4 orders. That moves the boat back. Like all things in life, I'm like delaying actually going out and doing this. It's a fine time for me to figure out where I have to go and to try to get there. But yeah, it's like I'd have no objection to just going for a walk, right? If it was just like kind of I could do this. But oh boy, as soon as there's like anything that could be of use to me, all these like, it's not like I don't want to go or anything. Just all these things throw themselves into the way in my mind and say, no, you don't want to do that, because I don't even have a reason. Like, I don't have an argument for it. It's just that, like, I have to do it. That is the only thing that's against me. I have no problem with the walk. I kind of want to go. It's a nice time. But it's like, because there's some reason to do it, It's just like I wouldn't go for the walk anyway, but if I wanted to go for a walk, I would just go, right? But like, as soon as there's any kind of feeling that like, oh, I really have to do this. And I thought this would really hinder me at work. It kind of didn't. In terms of like making it to work, I just did. Like, I feel like I didn't have any more of the, oh, I don't want to go to work type of feeling than anyone else has. Definitely tasks at work would sometimes feel this way. Like, I would put them off or something and find something else to do. But that's okay. And at home, absolutely no feeling of, oh, I just don't feel like working today. The only reason I would get it is like if there was something big that I had to cope with. So it's like my mind just doesn't make sense. Anyway, oh, I still have coffee left. That's why I got to stick around. I do have a reason. I look for arguments. I look for arguments in favor, of why. So let's look at the German side. I've got a fire. I got routes. Nothing hurt, but I can always throw one. I got recover. Can definitely do that. I'm allowed to do 3 actions. That's exactly what I'm going to do. Reticence may be a matter of that being Schrodinger's computer now, because it may or may not work. And if this attempt to solve it fails, I will be very unhappy. I still have other options. If it succeeds, well, that's great, but like, great is just putting things back close to where they were. It's not like some kind of big bonus. The state of unknowing is more acceptable in the overall scheme of things. It feels more like, okay, I've already kind of dealt with and I'm coping with this state of unknowledge, whereas like knowing that there's something wrong would be horrible. I don't know. Anyway, let me do the German turn. I just feel like I don't know. A hell of a lot ooh. Only from a friendly hex though. And wire is wire fortifications. I don't know what wire is. We're under 100, but then each of the individual fortifications is listed here. I think because it's got an F, wire counts as fortifications, and it makes sense that I'd be able to rip that wire up. So that's an interesting thing. But it's only if he discards cards, and that's not going to happen. I look at the other things. Smoke grenades aren't going to help me. Hidden unit, I'm not allowed. Spray fire is not going to help me. I have a bunch of fire actions, of order actions, but he's not moving, so none of them can take place. So I go ahead with just the German turn. Cover order succeeded. But these, I don't know. I feel like I could keep count, but it generated this interesting thing. Walking wounded. Select an eliminated unit. Return that unit to play in or adjacent to a random hex. Neither side has any eliminated units. This is important. I would have to select. Doesn't say may select. I would have to select a U.S. unit if it was on the track. Of course, maybe I look that up to see if it's actually worded the same way as on the card. I haven't noticed anything that's clear about that. Like, I haven't noted one, but now I'm like, yeah, but are any? Here it says must select one enemy unit. Yeah, it's not a may at all. So I would have to bring an American unit in if I had the opportunity. The first unit I want to fire is this, because it kind of only has one target and can't combine or anything, so that seems like a good idea. But I end up drawing a failure, so I just straight up miss. That sounds like rain. Not that it matters. But I wasn't counting on rain. Well, sea rain. Wind hitting things. In the midst of some fire, and I don't know exactly where I am. I don't remember which units I allocated. These guys fired at that in 2 separate shots. Let's see. I can calculate it this way: 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 7 is 16. So these guys have fired. I ended up getting a hero as an event from that. He's not going to be able to be included in the fire because he wasn't present when I gave the initial order. That's how I'm playing it, at least. I'm not going to try to figure it out. What that all means is I still have to react. I still have to do the defense for this. Just trying to keep track of where the fuck I am at any given time. And then I got to look over here and check these cards, which as the inactive player, I would have trouble remembering to do. I know I was constantly like reminding myself to look at cards when I was playing opposed. I put it down to these guys to shoot at this, because if I hit him, I get the possibility to throw another shot in at him. And the final fire was against this. It didn't do anything to it, but reinforcements show up. I looked through the list. I rolled a 3, which means here I could take a corporal. I don't really need one. A weapons team with a light mortar. I think I can do that. And the radio is not available. A green squad. That sounds less useful than the mortar. Although I don't know. You know. I mean, there comes a point where you have too many units for your cards to actually operate with. I haven't done anything with these guys, but I haven't gotten any move orders. If I did, I would shift them up. In the scenario I just played before this, I played reinforcements wrong. The way it's worded here, the way it is on the card, it says along your map edge. And I put it behind the map, not really caring where it came in. I was wondering, well, how will that work in relation to the thing? Well, in this one, I've been more careful. I went and looked it up instead of just trusting the card. And the way it is into any hex along the friendly board edge, stacking limits, blah, blah, blah. Well, you know, I mean, it's not a huge difference. It doesn't break the scenario that I did it in or whatever. Whoa, is my radio actually broken? I don't believe so. I think I just bumped it or something. But what it, you know, it just shows you that you really have to look everything up constantly. And that is, of course, my great gripe. All right, that's going to move the boat, and that's going to give me 3 more Germans. And I am going to pause for a bit because, yeah. I got up so damn early. It's not even noon yet. Feels like I've wasted a whole day because, you know, I've wasted, I don't know, 3 hours or whatever, easily. And that would be the whole day if I got up at a later point. Feels nice. Anyway, let's look at the U.S. here. What do we got? We got a ton of firepower. So our goal is in crap that I can't use. Although I do have a spray fire. Demolitions might be worth holding to get rid of that wire if I'm stuck there. I can launch 2 fire groups. I could actually launch 3 if I want to. I got this shit here. Unfortunately, no move, nothing like that, but that's life. You can't ever do what you want to do in this game. Because, you know, the card system and everything is meant to represent the command and control and stuff like that. But it takes me out of sort of the role-playing aspect of the game, right? I know someone who's like, I want to be able to control my pieces and do what they want to do, doesn't really see that as role-playing, but I see it more as the way, you know, my ideal is I issue orders and I see if the units do them. So for the equivalent of this, it would be the TCS, Tactical Combat System, by Dean Essig and the Gamers. Not that I've played it yet. I really need to get one of those to the board, to the table. because I'm really curious if I like it enough to justify the few that I've bought. But anyway, because even, it's got that sort of duality to it. It's World War II, so I hate it, but it's got the kind of order system and everything that I like. Yeah, also Ranger. My ideal is I am X person and I am giving orders and maybe they're followed or not. Some gamers want, I am in control of everything. I'm God or whatever, the spirit of this side, and the units should do what I tell them to do. This game is, the game tells you what your units can do, and you can kind of choose among that. You have agency. You have agency under any of the models. It's more limited, which I think is better. But again, I don't feel rooted in a position. I don't know what I feel like. Again, I feel more like that God position. I'm not God. I can't control them completely, but I'm kind of more the spirit of the force rather than like the commander telling them what to do, which might be okay because the commander's on the field and has, limited capabilities. Fire from back here didn't have any effect. Did cause a couple of events. New veteran. And now an interrogation. This is a new one. Look at your opponent's hand. You may select one card and place it in his discard pile. The Germans just got this. He can keep his command confusion and his artillery denied. So I'm going to get rid of one of his fires. They all look about the same. He's got the hero on the board, so I'll leave him that. I'll throw that one away. I could actually go down to die rolls. They're the same, no effects. And L10 versus L8. I'll make him throw the L8 away. That might actually have more effect on play, but I don't know. It's hard to tell. Over to this unit, try to soften this up because these guys have to fire at that. I'm going to throw that in too, I guess. If he has range, I don't think he does now. And two more events on the German reaction, defense rolls that they didn't even need to make because the attack roll was shitty. One of them, can't remember what it was. Shell shock. I got to break his commander, which is very helpful because that means he can't create a fire group anymore. I don't know, he might be able to call that into a fire group. Call that into a command. Like give a command to this and give it to that as well because they're at range 0, so I think that works. But then the other one was another hero which can't have any effect as far as I read it. Not going to look it up. I don't even have any broken units to repair if it were the case, but it's one of the advantages of the hero. And now I shift over here, I guess. Here, two more triggers, an event that I don't remember, didn't do anything, and a jammed, which also didn't do anything because he wasn't firing when he drew it. But now I've broken him on a horrible jammed roll, which means I've softened him enough there's a chance that like something good happens maybe. And I don't get no luck. That's that fire action. I can do up to 3 more, or order. I can do up to 3 more. I only really have 2 more orders I can even do. I had 4 of these. I don't know what's going on. But anyway, these guys all fired. I think these are the most likely for me to test next. This guy, I really don't want to fire him. These guys back here, they're actually out of range. All I have, I think, is the mortar, which could hit. That has a complicated range. 2 to 16. It's ordnance. I might get lucky. I don't even know if I have a line of sight on that. Feels like kind of a waste, but it also feels like, you know, used cards get more cards, but it's a fire card. It's too useful. My fire group is dead now. So anything that I do becomes really iffy. Do I want a chance trying to hit this? Retaining one fire card is a good idea. I think holding two is probably too much. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to unleash this. And I mean, I can just unleash this. And I get the machine gun at least in. That wasn't very effective. Didn't get a great roll. They got good rolls. What they did though was it triggered an event. I dropped some white phosphorus here. And now I get 3 cards back. Actually have some good cards. I gotta move. I don't need that. Yeah, I want to move him, but it won't help. But I have a recover, which is useful. I have an advance, which is what I do need with him. And I have a route, which might send those guys flying back. What's my order? I think I'm going to go with the route first. It's possible I could get shot at for moving. I don't think so, but I might as well do the recover after I do the advance. Do I have spray fire? I have assault fire, but I can't do that on an advance, only on a move. Okay. And this is allowable, is I could play the move, order somebody like this who has command of all of these, put them all under a move order, move one of the units, either before or after, but drop my assault fire instead of the recover. How many? I only have 1 wrecked unit. I think I'm going to do that. I think that's the order I'm going to do it in. So I'll not do this. I'll do this. We'll see what happens. Because I could choose not to fire the assault fire, but nobody's going to get hit. Fair enough. Because I could just swap these. No, I can only move one of the leaders. I guess I have to move the leader up somewhere. All right, so that makes the most sense. And if I'm careful with the move, there wouldn't be any fire. But the U.S. has 3 fire cards. I'm gonna be moving into one of these hexes, and yeah, possibly attract fire. The effect made this guy a veteran. The advance next. I can't give this guy the move order, so I can't use the assault fire on him. But we managed to use all our cards, which is always nice. A trip to the Notary Republic. I got to make a list of places, some of which, you know, are like fairly far apart, because I can't just go downtown and hit a lot of different places that are likely to be there. Everything that has the stuff I want is kind of spread out. But I make a list of places that I'm going to head to, you know, hoping that the closest one has what I need. But again, you know, my way of doing things is just more complicated. Some people would jump in their car and go, you know, to the most likely place or most likely cheap place or whatever. Some people would call ahead. Me, you know, I gotta hike around and hunt and peck and hope for the best. And, you know, but even if I had a car and a phone, again, I would still, like, I might drive to a place I know is going to happen. I might. But I would still have these same, like, the same desires that I have not to drive, not to use the phone. The phone would definitely not happen. The car, yeah, it might. I'm remembering my time in Phoenix when I had a car. For something like this, I'd look and I'd be like, is it really worth an hour walk? Although in that case it would be more like 40 minutes, which, I don't know, somehow that just seems much more accomplishable. Plus, the weather would be nice. Fire a lucky shot takes out those newly minted veterans. But also triggers a time move, even better for the Germans. We're up to 5. We're getting closer and closer to that sudden death. Points are going up. Deck, of course, got shuffled. Nobody dug in. If the U.S. had the initiative, they probably would have done something, if I could remember. But I don't remember until it's too late. But that's a big help, clearing that unit out of there. First blood up here. Ooh, that's worth a couple of victory points too. Aha, sweet. We're holding our defensive location, and now I got to decide the rest of those assault fires. But yeah, that's a pretty big effect that I just got there, especially with the time and everything else, just accumulating more points. It's going to be real hard for the U.S. to win this one, I think. Like firing on these guys and everything, that may not be a great idea because I'm generating lots of card churn, which means the time events are more likely to come up and stuff like that, and the decks are going to wear out quicker. It makes sense that I'm standing back and firing, that would hurt, that would take up a lot of time and everything. But the truth of the matter is just moving probably doesn't take up as much, although it could trigger fires from this side, so whatever. But they would be making those fires on their own turn anyway. Whereas by me, but it's not like I've had options. There aren't a lot of move cards. There aren't a lot of assault cards. So moving forward is hard. It doesn't affect anyone, but I just got an event interdiction. Suppress one unit in a hex that has less than one cover. The way that's worded in the card, it's a must. I don't know if it's in there. I would have to do the lookup again, just pointing these out. But right now, everybody's in cover. Down the firing line, we ended up breaking this unit, but his hit caused a sniper, which hit in here, I think, so I chose to knock out his commander. That's a big deal. That's a bonus that a 2-point bonus that was affecting everyone. Take some opportunity fire when he moves in there. I'm going to keep the other 2. If I can get my units in play, that works out fine. This moves here. 4 new cards. And we're going to break for a bit because, yeah, that was kind of intense. But I got my gun up. Should have gone earlier. It's due to rain today. Now it wasn't before, and it's already raining. That's okay. I got some time to get ready. There is a slice of time where it's probably not going to be raining coming up pretty soon, but I don't know. I have to do what I have to do, and I have rain gear. Past noon now by a little bit, and really coming down. I'm going to delay a little bit longer. Tomorrow's supposed to rain too, so it wasn't supposed to today. That's the whole thing. It's like when I looked in the morning, it looked like it was going to be good. Well, early in the morning. I did get my list of places. One direction, it would take me about 2 hours. It would take me 2 hours to get there to the first place. That would be more of a built-up area. But the other direction is like probably an hour and 20 minutes or so. And there's more stuff further down, more choices. So we'll follow that up. What's kind of useful is that's a regular hardware store is the first place I'm going to check. And there's stuff I need at the hardware store anyway. So that will help. Anyhow, let's take a look at the U.S. I got a couple of fires. I got a route. Route could be helpful. I got a couple of units that are broken, so maybe they'll run. Love to get that leader. Not useful. Spray fire might be. Got to keep that in mind. I got 2 fires and I got a piece of garbage. So I will be, I think, firing before I route, because I might kill one of these units rather than route it, which would be useful. I might, I mean, other shit could happen. I also will probably do 2 separate fires just to unleash everything. And I got the spray fire that I got to think about. And then we look at the Germans, see if they have anything they want to do. Concealment is useful. The rest of it, probably not. I'm not going to get any fire opportunities anyway, but I always check for those and then sometimes get confused and think I can fire in reaction no matter what, like return fire. But you effectively can on your own turn, so it's not really that big a deal. Is being able to do the opportunity fire that could hit things that you wouldn't normally be able to hit, like as they're running between cover or something like that. I went poorly, and it was a dumb idea. I shot this guy here. It could generate too many things. It isn't really the first shot I wanted to take. What I wanted to take is something that might knock him out. But, you know, you do what you do. And yeah, it caused a problem. It caused a sniper that killed my officer here. More victory points. We're up to like 27 now, is it? No, 29 for the Germans. So even if I lose the 15 for this, it's not that big a deal. Of course, if I lose the location completely, it's bad. But we are really holding those US troops off. I'm done with the fire on this side. A whole bunch of shit happened. I guess the most important thing, nothing in terms of breaking the Germans, but I guess the most important thing was I got a reinforcement. I could have taken a radio with a 150 millimeter gun, which sounds pretty exciting. That's a big gun. But I haven't seen a lot of German artillery cards, to be honest. Yeah, there's one right there. And I'm holding a couple of move cards. I didn't use this one. Probably should have. Since I had a heavy machine gun still left, I decided to go with this. By the way, I think the reason you put things here is so that you can't get them anymore, as opposed to just going back in the counter tray. I'm absolutely not sure, but I think like it limits your resources that you can get from card draws and whatnot. It's going to put me on the other fire on the other side. Oh, one thing that was important, this guy managed to get suppressed, which means that his weapon, his heavy weapon, isn't going to be in play. So that's kind of cool. Notice, if he had taken the radio, I could have broken it. I don't know if I want to fire this. The reason being, it's my last fire card, and I don't have a leader here. I have a leader back here. He does not have line of sight on anything. I think I checked and couldn't get it to there. So I think, given that I don't have a leader anymore, we're going to do the route. Didn't do anything good for me, but ended up killing another US unit. Not really expecting to be able to wipe out and hit the surrender. I think the time limit will go, but the 2 victory points helps. Puts me at 31. I don't know what happens if I go over 40. I'll have to look up. I don't think there's any kind of automatic victory or anything from that. And I'll move the boat over here. We got him and advance could be good, a move could be good. I did not use the concealment like an idiot. The move, I could actually assault fire with it. He can only move 3. I could put myself here. I don't know how much, because that's not in command of anybody. It's not all that helpful. But otherwise, 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm not able to get there. Oh, I will be able to. I'll have moved on a road. Okay. Cheated before. I did the assault fire from back here. I don't have anybody who's equipped with, the light machine gun guys could have fired, but a lot of these guys fired who weren't allowed to. Oops. Again, it's right on the card, but there's so much reading involved. And, once you're more familiar with things, you catch them more often. I kind of caught it in my head here. It's like, wait a minute. And looked it up, and yeah, I screwed up. All right. I'm going to use up my assault fire since it's pretty useless to me as a route order. And I don't know which move I want to do. Concealment's useful for defense, but I'm likely to forget it. Crossfire, I don't have a fire card. How likely am I to draw one? Reasonably, but not great. Do I want to burn this? It's useful. It's not fantastic. I could just burn the advance back here, get myself out of the line, but I don't really mind being there. Feels like a waste. It's a weird difference. Again, this is just something between me and other people. I'm not complaining in this case, strangely enough. The thought of it takes me, an hour and 15 minutes to walk to the bar that I go to. And I remember years ago talking to a woman who doesn't live very, she was talking about that it's a 45-minute drive for her. And I was kind of like, oh my God, that seems insane, to go out to a bar that's that far away. She was relatively regular. Hasn't been going in a long time. But the whole concept of a 45-minute drive seems like a ridiculous amount of distance to go. Whereas, my hour, 15-minute walk there and longer, probably, sometimes closer to, I don't know, sometimes it's crazy. I don't know what the fuck happens to me. But if I walk back, it's longer than that because it almost looks like it's snowing. Like there's huge things coming down. Anyway, it just, the two don't equate, even though it's the same amount of time. An hour and 15-minute walk to me is probably like a 20, 25-minute drive to somebody. It's not just a 5-minute, I'm in my own neighborhood or whatever type of thing. To me, that's more like a 25, 30-minute walk. But the hour and 15 minutes, I scale the times differently. It's like distance and time sort of warp together, right? But the idea of being in a car for 45 minutes, that's how far, driving between, I don't know, it's actually longer, but it's how long a trip, basically, driving between where my mom used to live and where my dad used to live. It was yeah, that's a pretty big thing. It's not just in town or, to the next town over or something like that. It feels like quite a distance. And it is quite a distance, but somehow that, I don't know, it's weird. It's weird. The idea of driving for that long is horrendous to me. Whereas walking that long, it feels, it's long, but it's not terrible. It's what I'm used to. It's what I go shopping at. Kind of funny, the memory card or whatever I have in this camera, is kind of damaged, so I use the onboard memory for it. Doesn't make a damn bit of difference with connecting to the Windows 10, but one kind of nice thing, I guess to be on a positive note again, is while I was looking for stuff in one of my drawers, hoping to find, I don't know what, like a disc, I think, a disc for the camera, and there is none. It's always on board. It's supposed to just autoplay and whatnot. Was another 32 gig chip. Now this has onboard 32 gigs, so I don't know if it would actually help me at all. But there might be advantages to using the chip, but I don't want to use it in this camera because this camera killed a chip, one of the memory cards already. My biggest one, I think, my 64. I think I have a 32 in that camera down there. But anyway, it's just like, I wonder where this came from. I don't know if I bought it. I suspect it was something kicking around in my wife's stuff. I actually checked her stuff too. I was hoping she had a can of air. If she had, I had already stolen it, but I don't think so. I think the cans that I had, but I thought she had one because some of the art stuff she did. That looks like fucking snow. That's snow. Well, if it starts snowing, that makes things a lot better. Like it's obviously like a sleet, a rain and snow mix, but if that changes to snow, that'd be awesome. Like, except that snowstorms scare the shit out of me since I've moved. Like, since the first year things went bad on a snowstorm. Didn't affect him, but it did break. He did decide to break his weapon. He just pissed or something. And then my move, like I said, if I go through the road, I have more movement. So that would be, let's see, I got two guys here. 1, 2, 3, 7. Can't go in there. So it will be 1, 2, 3, 4. Huh. Oh, a -1, but I get 1 from the road. So I'll be in this hex with that machine gun. Not able to see anything. Don't really want to push people forward, particularly. Doesn't do me anything, doesn't really do me anything. Would be useful to burn cards to try to get through turns because I get victory points for that and all. Puts me back here, and I think it's pause time. I made it out. It got pretty on the way home. My garbage is still out there. I don't feel like getting it today. Got myself compressed air. They had that at the hardware store. They also had the thing I need to turn on or to turn off my water at the street level. So I bought that. That was heavy to carry. And I got one other thing. Bunch of other stuff I was hoping to find, none of which panned out, but the air, expensive at that place. I should have gone somewhere else probably, but I'm okay. I bought a couple of cans. But unfortunately, just the cleaning wasn't enough. And now I'm not in the mood to pull the GPU out and see if it works just on the integrated. Like, it should automatically detect that there's no GPU and turn that on, but that's kind of the next step. I don't know, people have suggested it might be the HDI cables or something like that. I don't know. It's not like I have a lot of spares kicking around or anything, so who knows? But anyhow, here we are back at the game. I'm going to play a little bit and go back to watching videos or whatever. So what do we have? First of all, we're getting close to where sudden death comes into play. Got an artillery denied. That's not going to help me. I got a request. I'm running low on leaders, though. I lost a leader over here. I'm just trying to familiarize myself. I was playing solidly enough that I could see what's going on. So I have kind of the choice between regular firepower or calling an artillery strike with a crappy radio, really. Fuck. I have an advance and a move. I don't have anything that I can use in conjunction with them. So it's kind of tricky. I'm in a position where, like, I feel like I've hit a wall, and I'm just not doing anything to the Germans. They haven't even lost a unit, and look, I've lost 3. Shit. Yeah, I don't know. The move has to be back here. Try to get this guy over. You can't get much in command. And the terrain doesn't give me a lot of cover if I'm like spread, you know, I need to spread out to have the cover and like, yeah. The advance has a light wounds that could be helpful. I have smoke grenades, which if I come charging forward would be useful, but they might not really, like, first of all, I don't know what they're going to generate. And they might not do what I need. Oh, I have 2 moves. Oh, that's interesting. I didn't realize that. Fuck. Yeah. Like this fire group, I could light some stuff up, maybe, you know, if I get lucky, but long range shooting doesn't seem to be getting me where I want to go. I really don't know. I feel so lost. Vision is open up with fire here, do a move there, hope that I don't get shot running around, and, you know, maybe drop the advance in if I don't need the light wounds. The Germans have a fire, which they can use against me. On the other hand, you know, they can use it on their own turn too, so it's not really that big a deal. I'm not going to be moving on the roads. All right, let's start shooting. What do we have to protect us? We have a concealment. That's pretty nice. We have a sustained fire, which we can use in conjunction with our weapon, our fire card. Again, I didn't shoot at this guy first. I should do that, but I shot this way first. Shot from that fire event coming from here into there, but I could actually swap it around if I want. No, I can't. I need the line of sight. Actually, I hope I have the line of sight. Yeah, I'm gonna have the line of sight there. We had a time event though, which again put us right up here, give him a point, and he was close to the end of his deck anyway, so not a big deal that it came up where it did, but got rid of the smoke. First German unit killed there, for what that's worth. That's the end of this card. Now I have the move card, and that could trigger some more things. I need to swap batteries, probably pipe too. All in the midst of a one-player turn. You know, I'm used to playing these big games with lots of stuff going on and being, you know, taking about the same amount of time that I'm doing to fire a few rounds off here. In the move action, this guy moved up with his mortar, great, whatever. This guy is in the midst of moving. He has like 3 more movement points left. I don't have an easy way to record that, but I'm going to launch my fire so that I hit this hex. If I put it on him, I think I can get, oh, I can't get that in. I can get this in though. So, yeah. I guess this is the best fire I'm going to get, is just this one guy shooting. I could wait and, you know, let the flamethrower guy, that's who's walking up here, get closer. That helps because it clears this, and I can do a bigger fire group. I think I let him get closer. I hope to kill something, but that mortar kind of scares me too. Well, it doesn't have a lot of firepower. Or roads, he still has 3 movement points left. I think I have to shoot him because I'm not going to get a chance to shoot a second unit moving through the same area, I think. Because he can slip behind me. He could actually go all the way to here if he so desires, although that might... Nope. I was thinking it might open a fire lane up, but it won't. And then the other one can come running down too. There's a disadvantage to doing that, which is that the commander of the fire group that I used can only reach to here, but I don't know. How'd I shoot him there? Yeah. Right now, I got a second move. Got an advance. What did I do? I fired and moved. I used up 2 of my commands. I used the commanders, so I can't move a bunch in any way. But it feels like the Germans are out of shots because they haven't been taking shots at me. They let these flamethrowers get up there. I would like to move him or something, you know. I could try to get into position with these guys with a move. That might be worth it. I think I want to push that advance. I don't think that helps me, although getting rid of the card might be useful. But I think we're going to pass there. And that is going to move this. Germans do not have a lot they want to do. I have an advance card that I barely have a use for. I have a recover that I definitely want to play. What about the advance? I think I just hold off on it. I don't know. Is it a useful card? You know, that's kind of the question. The sustained fire gives me a couple of points with my machine guns, which could be very, very valuable. So I think we're just going to recover. I doubt there's anything the Americans can do about that. Recover triggered the time marker again. I think that might be right. I'm not sure. I may have forgotten to move the victory point forward, but let's see. So we hit the sudden death box. We get a 7. We're on turn 7. The result is less than. Is it worth the initiative for this? Yeah, I never play the initiative. I get it. Oh, fuck. Wait, before that 7, and before I make the decision on the initiative, I have an event. Interdiction, suppress 1 unit in a hex with less than 1 cover. Yeah, we got people we want to suppress. Let's get that guy. Now I play this. We get a 6, it's game over. Regardless of whether this is supposed to be 1 above or not, the Germans win this one. We're done! This one looks hard for the US, man. This one looks really hard for the US. I was not expecting the Germans to hold the entire location. And it's coming to a close thing, you know, but 15 points away, I'm still above, I'm above 30, so, you know, they're a tough nut to crack in this one. I don't know. All right, let's send this up. Of course, I can get Windows 10 to recognize my camera again. So far, trying to get Windows 10 to accept this thing is just not working. You know, I got the last video I did, the one saying my computer was fucked up. It's recognizing from that same USB port, but and then it's not like, then it's getting all confused. The file explorer and everything is just not connecting fully. It recognizes that they're there, but only halfway or something. I don't know. What it comes down to is Windows 10 is a fucking piece of shit as far as I'm concerned. My antivirus may be causing an issue because every time I plug in, it's asking if I want to scan. Seems like a great idea to have like it ask me. I don't want it to scan this, but I do want it to scan, you know, if I stick some random USB into it or something. But I guess I'll just turn that off, see if that helps. After, I don't know, it's been 20 minutes, a half hour, whatever. I don't know, maybe less. It's hard to tell. I got down into the file where all the videos are, and then it froze up. This is with the antivirus turned off and everything. It's just like the USB has trouble with these cameras. It has no problem with any other connection that I throw on it, including stuff that's older than it, like an old USB stick or whatever that I tried. I just don't know. Like, these cameras are finicky. I've heard that, but no problem at all with Windows 7. Windows 10, fucking piece of garbage. So I don't know. I actually have the worry that I'm fucking up the camera's memory, which won't be repairable, because I can't, you know, safely disconnect it, whatever. But it's not actually making any transfers during that, so it's probably okay. But it's really, really fucking obnoxious. And yeah. Like I said, you know, it isn't automatically running the software that it's supposed to. It's not doing any of the stuff that it's supposed to do. And it may be that there's further security protections on outside of my antivirus on Windows 10 that are getting in the way here. But I don't know. I'm just really pissed. Oh, I found out what was wrong with my old computer. Turns out it's the fucking monitor. Not what I would have thought at all. I got one working just fine. Another better monitor. I thought I had fried this one actually, so I was like, yeah, what's up? And I have already pulled my graphics card out for whatever that's worth, but at least I have a working computer now, I think, maybe, after I deal with trying to get the BIOS all back in place and everything. I mean, that's sort of a best of all possible situations, but I didn't imagine that it was the monitor.